management things, administrative stuff, okay? I want to talk with you guys with everybody real quick, and then you guys take like a 5-7 minute break and then come back, okay? But first things first, I've put an assignment on Canvas. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's for page 15, 16, 15, let's see, 15, 16, and 19. Okay? These are political philosophies. I'm going to get into some notes today. Okay? And next week, Monday and Tuesday, I want you guys on those 3 pages to do annotated notes. You guys know what I mean by that? I asked Lily this morning, and she said, yes, they'll know how to do that. They'll know what I'm talking about. So basically, I just want you to go read those and just take some notes on them, okay? You can do it in your book, okay? And that'll help you be able to help discuss this on Monday and Tuesday, okay? I will not be recording Monday because I'm going to do the same discussion on Tuesday with these folks, okay? And then there's an assignment for 10 points on page 18. There's 5 questions with John Locke's Second Treatise of Civil Government. Okay? So you guys that are here tomorrow in class, I'm not going to be here, so you guys can work on that in class. Okay? You guys that are home. Is that you that are going to be at home? Wait, no, yeah. Never mind. Okay. Now, so need to be ready for that on Monday. You guys can be ready for that on Tuesday. Okay? The John Locke questions you can turn in 2 ways. You can do a file upload, like doing it in Word and upload it, or you can type it in Canvas. You can do a text submission. Everybody with me and understand what I'm saying? Beautiful. Okay. That's administrative. The second administrative thing we got to talk about today is over here. Right here. Okay, so last semester, you guys, most of you did history, guys. So you had 2 things. This semester, government students, 1 thing. Okay, you're going to read a book, right? And you're going to read it from the political left or right, which you're going to, if you haven't figured out, we're going to do today, and I'll explain that a little bit better to you. And you got to get that approved by me, and you're going to write a book review on that, looking at political bias. Okay, and that is due when? April 16th.
That's my birthday.
Yes.
Your birthday's the day after tax day.
Yeah, my parents date it.
Yes. Yes.
Same.
Okay, so that's the administrative stuff. All right, and I'm recording this, but anybody watching this recording this evening, you can fast forward while I'm talking about the political spectrum stuff, okay? And then I am going to do a few notes, so stick around and get those notes, okay? All right, so let's start. Did you guys watch the video? I don't know how many guys watched it. I'm just going to just to make sure we get ourselves covered, because I'd hate to spend 8 days on this and you guys not fully understand what the heck I'm, right, or why we did it and so forth. Okay, so if you had 18 or more, yes. 15 or more, yes. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 each. 15 or more, no. 18 or more, no. Okay? This is kind of what we did. So if you hadn't added them up, add them up real quick. Now I'm going to tell you what these mean. And then, yes, I would like to know, if you're okay with it, where you fell, just so I know who I'm teaching, okay? And it's okay. We had somebody in 5th hour yesterday that was different than everybody else. And as I said yesterday, that's okay. It's actually a good thing, right? We all don't want to be thinking the exact same thing. We'll be a bunch of little fascists running around, okay? And nobody needs that, okay? So it's okay to have some fascists as long as they're, balanced off by some communists. Okay. Kidding. Okay. Now, please play. You don't have to play. Okay. Any have 18 or more. And don't raise your hand again. Did you have 15 or more? Okay. This is shaping up a little more normal than historically than what I saw in my other classes. Okay. 10 to 14 each. Come on. There we go. There you are. There's our moderate. Okay. I love it. Okay. I love picking on the moderates. I will not pick on the liberals or the socialists, but I will pick on the moderates. Okay. Do we have any 15 or more no's? 18 or more no's? All right. All right, one here. Okay. All right, so here, conservative, right? Now, the conservatives, guys, use the Republican Party as a vessel. We are a two-party system, okay? It's just the way it is, and I will explain that to you in great detail as we move through this class, okay? But we're stuck in a two-party system. It's just the way it is, all right? Conservatives have to use the Republican Party as a vessel to get people elected to think like they do. It's frustrating as heck for some conservatives that they have to deal with these Republicans, okay? But they have no choice. You understand? They've been talking, there's talk of this third-party stuff, right? If they do a third party, a Patriot Party, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to destroy what party? It's going to destroy the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party is going to dominate. Okay, so this stuff we'll talk about. Okay, the further right you go, so of our three that had 18 or more, did anybody have 19? 20? 21? 20? 20? 19? Okay. You got to watch out for these people right here. Okay. These are right wingers, right? These are political scientists use the term reactionary. Okay. The people that are on the far right. Okay. Again, it's not a bad thing. Okay, because you got to have that diversity. You've got to have some people on the right trying to hold the other people accountable. Okay, and usually your people on the wings tend to get pretty loud. Okay, and that's okay. We've been through this. We've been at this for 230 years. It's okay. All right. These folks in here fall into the mainstream of the Republican Party, and depending on where you, the moderate, were, whether you had 13 or 14 closer yeses or 13 or lower no's, you may trend to the Republicans or the Democrats a little bit. Okay. So this is mainstream Republican Party. This is mainstream Democratic Party. Down here, what we have is somebody you would refer to as liberal. Okay. Now, did you get to 19?
No.
Just at 18? Okay. So you're liberal. Okay. Maybe progressive. Okay. I wouldn't go so far as call you socialist. Yeah. Okay. It probably depends on how you answered some of those questions.
Yeah. Some of them I was on the fence about, so I don't know.
Like her?
Yeah.
On the fence?
I mean, yeah. But I think that's that.
Yeah.
So we got
Yeah. Okay. So if we do the wings, right? Okay. There's the middle. The fence are moderates. Okay. You go right, you get Republicans, conservatives, reactionary, and then on the far right, you get fascists. Okay. On the far, you go left, you get Democrats, liberals, socialists, progressives, and then communism. Most Americans, guys, are in here. Okay. One thing we'll learn during primary elections, like remember when Joe Biden was running, he was running against Kamala Harris, he was running against Cory Booker, he was running against Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, all those names. Remember that? Yeah. During the primaries, this party will move this way, to the left. Okay? The Republicans will move to the right during the primaries. During the general election, parties tend to move to the middle. to get her to vote for them. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, because you got to, that's about 15% of the population, 20% of the population that you would consider independent moderates. Okay? We know who conservatives are going to vote for. We know who liberals are going to vote for. Okay? Now, how did Donald Trump win in 2016? He got some of these people to vote for him. Okay? So he got Democrats to vote for him. Okay? And this time, it didn't happen for him. Okay? So 15 to 20% of the population, about 20% of the population, 15 to 20% of the population in the middle, about 20% of the population, 20 to 25 here, and 15 to 20% here. Okay, there are more registered Democrats in the United States than are Republicans. That being said, the United States tends to be, if you look at this historically, the United States tends to be a center-right country. Okay, skews just a little bit here. Now it's a pendulum, right? So in this election, you elected Democratic president, picked up seats, and Democrats picked up seats in the Senate. Now the Republicans picked up seats in the House. Okay, so you couldn't really call it like a blue wave, blue being Democrat, red being Republican. You couldn't really call it a blue wave, but the pendulum did swing to the left a little bit. In 2022, in these midterms coming up, and they're already starting to plan for them, right? People are saying, I'm running, and so forth. After the first 2 years of any president in recent history, the party out of power tends to do very well in the midterm elections. Let me take you back to 1992. Bill Clinton, Democrat, elected. Controls both houses of Congress, Democrats. 94, Republican revolution. Republicans take back both houses of Congress. Clinton has to deal with Republican Congress for the next 6 years. Okay, let's fast forward to 2000. George W. Bush, Republican, wins the White House. Republicans control both houses in the Congress. Okay, 2002, Democrats win back both houses. Bush had to deal with the Democratic Congress the next 6 years. Okay, let's fast forward to 2008. Barack Obama, Democrat, elected president. Democrats control both houses of Congress. 2010, Republicans come back in. Okay, fast forward 2016. President Trump wins, Republican. Republicans control both houses of Congress. 2010, Democrats take back the House. Okay, Republicans held on to the Senate. Okay, so 2022, if history repeats itself, Republicans have a very good chance of winning back both houses of Congress. And Joe Biden, still around, will have to deal with a Republican Congress. Okay. And I don't say that lightly because I don't know. I just, if you watch him, do you watch him? Have you been watching his press conferences? Okay. He's the oldest president we've ever had. Okay. So I don't know what's going to happen. Now, the executive orders, 20 of them in the first week. Okay. Now, some of these are going to impact society, some are not. Did I hear this right? That Biden signed an executive order saying that you can't use the term China virus anymore? Did I hear that? Did anybody hear that? I heard that. Okay. I just violated that. It's free speech. Come on. You can't sign an executive order. Okay, like that. You can't enforce that. Okay? Besides, you can't do it. Now, he could say, if you're on federal property, you can't say that. Like he said, you have to wear a mask on federal property. That's an executive order. Yet his press secretary at the White House is giving press conferences without a mask on, violating that executive order. Rules for thee, not me. Okay, sorry. But, all right, I'm done. All right, now, yesterday I talked about this. Go to page 6 in your book. this is better. You have the wings over here, okay? You got the right wing, you got the left wing, okay? Now, fascism. You guys that had history last semester, we studied it. We studied 4 characteristics of fascism. 1, you got to have a strong leader, right? 2, you need a crisis, okay? And because of that crisis, you're going to need action. The executive that is very strong and powerful will gain more power, okay? And this is where we get fascism. And usually there's some type of symbol that accompanies this, okay? Now, this graph that you have on page 6 is similar to the wings, okay? That's the fence, okay? That's where our moderates are. You go Republican, right, to the right, conservative, Democrat, liberal, right? But down here, where the fascists and the communists, these two have more in common than they do separate. I mean, you wouldn't say fascists and communists are polar opposites. They're not polar opposites. Okay? Now, liberals and conservatives, you could say are polar opposites. But not fascists and communists. They both share too much in common. So this actually makes more sense what you have in your book, where these systems tend to violate the law, or in our case, it would be violate the Constitution in order to gain power. And these usually wind up in totalitarian systems. So they actually share more in common. And then one of the things when we learned about fascism in history class, guys, the article that we read in class talked about liberal fascism. Some people say that fascism can only take place from the right. Okay? And what you guys read, we talked about the New Deal and most specifically the National Recovery Administration. Okay? That told businesses what they could produce, how much they could produce, how much they could sell it for, how much they had to pay their employees, how many hours their employees could work, controlling means of production. That did not come from the right. That came from the left. With communism, without private property ownership, okay, then the government controls industry. In fascism, the government controls industry, but it doesn't own it. Okay, and as we've talked about, guys, in China, they don't practice true economic communism because it doesn't work. Okay, can you own property in China? Yes. Okay, so they're, you know what I mean? It's not true economic Marxism. Okay, so, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, in some cases it's probably easier to open a business in China than it is in California because of all the regulations that they have in California. Okay, so it's interesting. You guys understand left and right. Now you have an idea where you fall on this spectrum. Okay, try it out on mom or dad if you want. See how they do. Okay, you might have to explain some of this stuff to them, or you can show them my video. Okay, see how they do, where you fall. Some of us follow our parents, some of us don't. Okay, and that's okay, right? Are your parents conservative?
I know, we don't really talk about that a lot.
That's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? Because that divides families.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I get along with liberals just fine. You know what I mean? I tend to be, I'm kind of that. I'm pretty libertarian. You know what I mean? I like freedom. All the way around. You know, now I'm pro-life, but I tend to, you know, so some people say like a conservatarian. Okay? It's kind of where I fall. Now, hopefully, I did a pretty good job, and Connor, you can tell me, trying to give you both sides of these things, just so you could be exposed to that. And people are exposed and told, given another option, right? And hopefully I did a good job with that. Okay, good? All right. All right. If you want to know about libertarianism, watch the last few minutes of the lecture from the other day. Okay, I need to move on to some other things. Okay, we're going to take just a few notes today. All right, and so get hopefully you got a notebook or something. All right, we're starting with section 1, all right? I think that starts on page 14. Oh, come on, I have these notes up. Nikes. There it is. You guys see page 14? So you can kind of see what we're going to go through, guys, okay? So we're going to look at definition of state, government, country. We're going to look at origins of states. Then we're going to look at social contracts. That's what your homework is over, okay? Different forms of government, economic theories of form of government, basic concepts of democracy. Stop. After number 6, okay, starting with number 7, this is where your essay begins for the test, okay? So this part, 7 through 11, will be what you're writing about on your essay. The first 6 will be on the objective portion of the test. Okay, so we'll have 2-day test, first day 1 through 6, second day essay, okay? And guess what? That'll be a while. It's going to take us a while to get there, okay? So no test for a while here, all right? Now, so get your other classes in order, and then when I come calling, you step up and do it, okay? Now, there's a quote there from Winston Churchill. I think I've told you this quote before, okay? Democracy is the worst form of government on earth, except for all the rest, okay? So let's start with the basic definition of government, okay? You're going to write this down. And we get 35. This should work just right. This is going to work out just right. Government, an institution through which a society makes and enforces public policy. Institution through which a society makes and enforces public policy. So, public policy. All things that government does. That's what public policy is. You guys remember I talk about public, you should think government. Public schools, okay, public park, public golf course, run by the government, okay? Public policy is all things that government does. So it could be a law, okay? It could be a regulation, it could be an executive order. Public policy, okay? Now, governments rule over a state. A state, okay? What is a state? Well, is the United States of America a state? Yeah. It's a politically organized unit, is a state. The United States is a nation state. It's a state. You ever heard of Israel referred to as the state of Israel? The nation state. Now, Kansas is a state too, right? It's not a nation state, it's a state. But the United States is also a state. That's where it gets confusing. Okay? France is a state. France has parishes, which some would call states. In Mexico is a state. It's a nation state, and it has states. Canada has provinces, which are states. And Canada is a state. There's 4 characteristics of a state. How many? 4 characteristics of a state. And I'm going to give you those 4 characteristics of a state. a state, politically organized unit. Okay, first characteristic of a state, population. You need people. There's more than 200 nation states in the world today. Which is the smallest state in the world?
Like, not Rome, I know what it's called, Vatican City.
Vatican City, okay? Last count, population, 826. Okay, Vatican City. Any guys been there? The Protestant over here has been there twice.
I never left the country.
You're going? Yes. With Lily?
Yeah.
Yes.
With Lawson.
I hope you get to go. I worry about my daughter, but I hope you get to go. And she's been over there, so she knows. You know,
I mean, the word is, if not this year, it'll be next year.
let's go this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Largest population in the world? China. Okay. You guys know what number 2 is?
Yeah.
India. Number 3? I believe it's Indonesia. Blowing up here. Third largest country in the world population. And countries. Koji, United States. It's United States is third. So China, it says 2020 population 1,439,000,000. India 1,380,000,000. United States 331 million.
Whoa.
Indonesia 273. Pakistan 220 million. Brazil 212. Nigeria 206 million. Bangladesh 164 million. Russia 145 million. Mexico 128 million. Wow. Now, China, they're showing this is like expected population for by 2050. They're showing a decrease in China to 1.3.
Yeah, because
The population control, yeah. And India, they're saying 1.6. United States, almost 400 million. I'm getting these texts. I want to look, but I can even teach. Okay. Second, and you guys don't need to know that stuff. I'm sorry. Just population. The second characteristic is territory. Population and territory. Smallest, Vatican City. Okay. You can walk around the whole country in about 45 minutes. It's a walled city, but you can walk around. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's neat. You got to go. Okay. The largest, Russia. Okay. The third characteristic, sovereignty. Sovereignty. Let me write that for you. Spell that for you. SOVEREIGNTY. Sovereignty. That's a good word. It's an important word. So in this case, generally sovereignty just means the right to rule. So like when you individually, you become sovereign when you're really 21. I mean, when you're 21, you can buy cigarettes and alcohol and a handgun. Life is good. Okay. At 16, you can walk out of this school and never come back. You can drop out of school legally at 16. Okay.
Tattoo.
So, huh?
And get a tattoo if you have a
And get a pet?
tattoo
Oh, a tattoo at 16?
if you have a parent's permission. Yeah.
Okay, but then you're not sovereign.
Well,
You gotta be 18. 18 to get a tattoo? Oh, well, they'll change that to 21. I mean, we can't have 18-year-olds making these kind of, oh, wait, we let them vote. But they can't buy tobacco. Oh, they can be trapped. They can fight in overseas wars, but they can't buy cigarettes? Are you kidding me? The lunacy in this, you know what I mean? That's bad public policy, in my opinion. Okay? All right, so what are we talking about? Sovereignty. Let me give you a definition, okay? Supreme and absolute power. Supreme and absolute power within its own territory. Sovereignty. Supreme and absolute power within its own territory. Does our government get to choose who it lets in the country and who it doesn't? Yes. Has sovereignty over our nation. Okay? Now, we'll get more into that so forth, okay? The fourth characteristic of a state is government. And I believe you have a definition of government. Okay? Those four things are characteristics of state. All states have these four things. Okay? Now, what we got to get into next is the origins of these states. The origins of these states. Okay? Where did these states come from? How did they develop? How did they come into being? And I have four origins of the state. How many? Four origins of the state. Okay? The first one is the force theory. Now, this morning I got here really early. I was doing a little research on the force theory, okay? Because I was teaching this in my regular class too. So, just a little bit different. But anyhow, have you all heard of Genghis Khan? Okay? Genghis Khan, and I looked this up, in the 1200s, Genghis Khan, who was from Mongolia, okay? Mongolia, okay? Sometimes referred to as Outer Mongolia. During the 1200s, the Mongols took over all of this, all of this. They didn't take India, but like all of this by force. And these guys were brutal, okay? How much time do I have? 10 minutes? Let's do this. Okay, I did this with my other class. A little bit of violence. I saw a movie once where there's a teacher that tells the story of how Genghis Khan conquered people. And I like how this teacher teaches it in this movie. Okay? Is that all right? Okay. Now, some of you may have seen this, and when we're done with this, you're going to want to see the movie. Okay? Where's that music coming from? Oh, no, that's coming from YouTube. Okay. Is that up? This is from a movie called Red Dawn, the first one. Okay? It's not violent till the end. Okay, so hang in there. Okay, you're 18, so.
Always began with the army spread out in a semicircle. I would say about the size of Rhode Island. Then they would ride forward, driving everything before them. Beasts, men, even bugs. Now the ends would kind of close in to form a shrinking circle. And everything within that circle panicked to get out. When the Mongols could see each other, they had worked themselves up into a pretty good frenzy. Now when this killing started, it lasted for days, weeks, even months. And it went on until the young son of the Khan asked his father, that the last creature alive, be allowed to go free. Oh, now, my friend. Oh, now. Oh, check it out. All right.
Any of you guys seen this?
It's pretty cool, though. I would say they were way off course. It's very unusual. Do something, Steve. Don't you get it? Don't you get it, my friend? How much you want?
I'm so confused.
Okay.
Me too.
All right, that is Colorado, 1980s, okay? And that is, those are Cuban troops. And the Soviet Union and Cuba decided to invade the United States, okay? That's the story, okay? These high school kids and their older brother, the high school mascot is called the Wolverines, okay? And they take off to the mountains and they start to organize and start to become the resistance against the communists that have invaded. Okay? When this movie came out, it was the first movie ever given the designation PG-13. And it's also the most acts of violence per minute in any movie in Hollywood history up to this date.
John.
It's also one of the few pro-American Cold War movies. Okay, because a lot of the Cold War movies, Hollywood didn't paint us very well. The Americans very well. Okay. All right. So that's the force theory. Okay. That's where you conquer other people, right? And you force them to live under your rule. Okay. Submit to your power. That's the force theory. Okay. The second origin of the state is the evolutionary theory. Evolutionary. Starts with a family. Grows into a clan. Grows into a tribe. The tribe settles. No longer nomadic. you know, we talk about a lot of Indian tribes, you know, being nomadic, moving, they settle and form a state, okay, with those 4 characteristics, okay? So we have had countries evolve, or nation states evolve from a family, okay, over time. The third, which you've all heard of, is the divine right theory. The divine right theory as an origin of state. And this is where God gives a person or a king or a queen the divine right to rule. Now, as we, you know, can rattle off, you know, King Henry VIII, Louis XIV, Queen Elizabeth I, you can rattle these off. You look at European, you could go back to the dynasties of China. You can go back to early Japanese, and most of these rulers claim some type of divine right by God to rule over others. Okay? Now, if you believe in the Bible, there's actually 2 examples where people asked God for a king to rule over them, and he provided them with a king with divine right. Who were those 2 kings? Saul and David. Okay? So, I mean, if you think about it, there's a couple legitimate examples of divine right. But most of these other kings and queens and emperors and so forth claimed a divine right, but did they really have it? I guess that would determine, you know, depend on your beliefs, but most of us don't believe that. Okay? So the fourth and most important for our study is the social contract theory. The social contract theory rejects the divine right theory. Yes? The social contract theory is this. Government is an agreement between people and government. Government is an agreement between people and government. That's the social contract theory. Okay? And what you're going to be reading and be ready to discuss Monday and Tuesday are 3 different political philosophies on social contract. Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Okay? One of these 3, our founders of this country will borrow from heavily. Okay? So with John Locke, you can look at the Second Treatise on Civil Government. Now, guys, when he's writing this, when all of these men are writing these philosophies, they are committing treason. You understand? Because they are all living under kings and queens that claim divine right to rule. And they are challenging them. Okay? Which means they're risking their lives to write this. Okay? We will all benefit from these ideas. We may not adopt all of these ideas. We will benefit from them. Just by myriad of discussing them, to think about them. Okay? And to implement in some cases. Okay? So the bell's about to ring. If you have questions about what you need to do, just send me a message on the inbox. Okay? And I will surely help you out. Okay? Thank you for your attention today. And get used to that kind of note-taking. Now, the Monday and Tuesday will be discussion. I will not record my discussion on Monday or Tuesday. Okay? I'll give you a couple days off on watching my video. All right? Good? All right. See you guys. Be nice to Mr. Holman. You know what to do.